fantasy basketball right around the corner. The NBA season starting December 22nd. But I know guys have drafts coming up soon. So here's a few players that I'm going to tell you to avoid this season heading into your drafts. The first guy is Kristaps Porzingis of the Dallas Mavericks. Porzingis, once again, he's injured with a knee. He's probably going to be out to late January, early February. And this guy, he's a good player when he plays, but you'll never get a full season out of him, I believe. He's too big of a player for his height, and it's just unfortunate for him, and that's why I think the Knicks traded him as well. But Porzingis last year, when he did play, 20 points a game, 10 boards a game, 2 assists a game, 2.5 threes, 4 free throws, but 42% from the field. So Porzingis, he gives a lot. He helps you a lot in categories. But this guy, he just can't stay healthy or keep playing. So this guy, he's a guy I've been seeing in mock fantasy drafts go anywhere from the 6th to the 8th round. He's a guy I just don't want a piece of, even if you have injured list spots in your league, because I don't know what I'm going to get from him. I don't know how many games he's going to play. And if I'm going to waste a 6th round pick on a guy who's only going to play 30 or 40 games, I don't think it's worth it, especially if you're in the playoffs and he goes down then. So Kristaps Porzingis, I'm avoiding him in fantasy drafts. The next guy is Kyrie Irving of the Brooklyn Nets. The same type of deal with Irving here. Last year, he barely played. This year, I know he's back now. Kevin Durant's going to be back, which is great. But already reports are coming out that he's not going to play all 72 regular season games, according to Steve Nash. And this guy, he's always hurt. It's always a knee, a wrist, a hand, whatever the deal is. When he plays, he's amazing, no doubt about it. Last year, 27 a game, 5 boards, 6.5 assists, a steal and a half a game, and 47% from the field. Irvin, he had some huge games. I think he had a 55, 60-point game early in the year. But this guy, he's just not healthy. He's never healthy. I don't think he'll ever play a full season. And already with the season starting in 3 weeks, like I said, reports coming out that he's not going to play the whole year. So he's a guy I'm going to avoid, and he's going late first, early second round in fantasy drafts. But if this guy's only going to give me 30 or 40 games like Porzingis as well, and only play in half a season, it's not worth it. There's better options out there, more reliable guys. So I'll let someone else in the drafts in the next month here go and get Irvin. I'm not going to take him. The next guy here is another guy I'm trying to avoid, is Gordon Hayward of the Charlotte Hornets. The big acquisition for the Hornets this offseason was Hayward. They gave him a huge chunk of change, is Hayward, and now he's going to have to play and step up to it. Hayward, last year, pretty solid year, but once again he was injured for Boston. 17.5 a game, 6 boards, 4 assists, and he shot 50% from the field and a 3.5 a game. But Hayward here, he's in Charlotte. They paid him big money. A lot of expectations, especially a LaMelo Ball they drafted as well. But Hayward, I'm not going to waste a 4th or 5th round pick on him as well. He's a guy I just can't trust. I think his numbers will go up here in Charlotte because, in Boston they got the studs in Tatum, Kemba Walker, and Jaylen Brown. But I just can't trust Hayward. I think he's going to get hurt. And he's going way too early in fantasy drafts. Late 3rd, early 4th, 5th round. I see him going. If you could get him in the 7th or 8th round, that's not that bad. But where he's going and his ADP going into drafts, Gordon Hayward's a guy I'm going to try to avoid because of the injury history, and I just think he's not going to live up to expectations over there in Charlotte. So avoid Hayward. The next guy is Draymond Green of the Golden State Warriors. Green, another guy with injury problems over the last few seasons. And he don't give you much in fantasy leagues, to be honest. He's only going to help you in rebounds and assists and steals. Everything else, his field goal was horrible. 35, 40%. He don't give you three-pointers. He barely goes to the foul line, and he's not a good free throw shooter either. So Draymond Green, he's still going 5th, 6th round. I've seen him go in some mock drafts. And he's a guy I'm just going to avoid. He don't do enough of anything to be great. He does the little things, but he's a guy that he puts up back of the draft numbers, and those are the type of guys you can find on the waiver wire. So Draymond Green, he's a guy I'm going to avoid. He's going way too early in drafts. The next guy to avoid as well is Christian Wood of the Houston Rockets. Wood, he had a breakout second half with the Detroit Pistons, and it landed him a great contract here this offseason with the Houston Rockets. But Wood now, I think his numbers are going to go down a lot. James Harden's there. DeMarcus Cousins is there. They traded for John Wall. So Wood, he's going to be a stretch four, I think, if he could shoot the basketball here. Last year, 13-6. He had an assist a game, 1-3 a game, and he was 56% from the field. I think he's going to drop his numbers to probably 10 points a game, 4 or 5 boards, and maybe he'll hit that 3 a game. But he's not going to get the ball much. He's going to be the third or fourth option over there in Houston. And when James Harden has that ball in his hands, he needs shooters around him. And Wood, not a great three-point shooter. That's something he's probably got to get going on, even though I said he could be a stretch four for the Rockets. But anyway, I just don't like the fit there in Houston. Now that John Wall got traded there and that DeMarcus Cousins there, they still got Eric Gordon. They still got P.J. Tucker. So there's a lot of guys and mouths to feed over there in Houston. And I'm going to avoid trying to get Christian Wood because he's a guy I'm seeing as well going anywhere from 4th to 6th round in fantasy drafts, where I think I could wait and get him later in the draft. But where he's going, I'm just not going to get him that early in the draft. So he's a guy to avoid. The next guy is Kevin Love of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Love, I don't know if he's going to be on the team much longer. Love, his stats have been dropping the last few years, it seems like. Last year, decent stats, 17-9. He hit 2.5 threes a game, which is good, 45% from the field. But Kevin Love here, his rebounds are probably going to go down. With Andre Drummond now there a full season in Cleveland, the points definitely have went down over the last few years. Love and the injuries as well with Love. He's hurt, it seems like every year he misses a month or two of the season. And he's a guy going as well as Love, anywhere from the 5th to the 7th round. So he's a guy I'm going to pass on. Like I said, he's declining as the years go on. And Cleveland, they're trying to build the nucleus over there with Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, and the other young guys. So Cleveland, I don't think Love's going to be there long, like I said. But Love is a guy, I just don't think he has that much appeal this season in fantasy basketball, unless I could get him in the later rounds. But from the 5th to the 7th round, he's another guy I'm going to avoid here. And the last guy I'm going to avoid here in fantasy drafts, David Bertans of the Washington Wizards. Bertans, he got a huge contract over there in Washington. 5 years, $80 million to re-sign. And Bertans, he had a great season last year. I'm not going to deny it. 15 points, 4 boards, an assist and a half a game, and a whopping 3.7 threes per game. But he only shot 43% from the field as Bertans. But now with Russell Westbrook in town, Westbrook, his usage is going to go up. The ball's going to be in his hands a ton of times, and Westbrook, he's going to control that offense. I think everyone's numbers are going to go down in Washington besides him. Thomas Bryant, he's going to be healthy this year, and they got Ryu Ahucha-Miura as well, so there's a lot of big men over there in Washington. And like I said now, Bertans, his points are going to go down, I think. He wasn't a great rebounder as it was, and his 3 points made 3.7, that's a high number. I think that's going to drop to probably 2 to 2.5. So Bertans, he's going about 6th to 7th round as well, I've seen in fantasy drafts. And he's a guy I'm just going to avoid this year because with Russell Westbrook in town, Westbrook, he's going to be dictating the offense, and he's a guy that's going to shoot the ball 20-25 times. Him and Beal, they're probably going to take 50-60% of the Wizards' shots this season. So Bertans, his stats are going to go down, his points and threes, and he's a guy I'm avoiding. So that's a few players I'm avoiding here heading into fantasy drafts this season.